Hi guys, this is Ptash, and in this video I would like to talk about the intermediate level of of playing a Botworld Adventure when you are at the point where you have most or all special rarity bots, which are these, green borders around the bots. These are the special rarity bots. You have most of them, and you have a couple of rare bots. I will get to that later, but for now I would like to rate all of these special rarity bots. What is the best in the late game? Once you get to this level like 30 and stuff, which of these bots excel, which fall off a bit? That's what we will be talking about. And after that I will get you some example bot team compositions, example loadouts for this level of playing Botworld Adventure, for this part where you have like level 14, 13 to like 20, I guess, or 17, 18, because around 20 you should have a lot of rare bots, so then there is a bit of change. So this is more like average level 14 to like 17 of bots, I guess, from what I remember at least. So let's get to it. So we have all of these green bots on the screen, and on the bottom I've put, actually Bombi should be there. This is on the top what I think are the viable bots out of the special bots, and on the bottom are, I would say, less viable, because Berserker, Tether and Bombi all could be upgraded to level 30 and they would be doing a decent job. I just think that these bots on the top are just a tiny bit better once you upgrade them to level 30. The special bots, here there is no compromises. I feel like these bots have all what it takes to be useful. Even today I use Brute, and in some situations I use Longshot. Longshot is not the best possible bot out there, but I love Longshot for his reliability, for how fast his default attack is. He's just so useful when you just put him and he just shoots at things, you know? It's so simple, and that simplicity is so great. That's why I've got Longshot to level 30. You can also customize Longshot with AI to have either more damage or more sort of utility, like range. So this bot isn't that boring, you know? He has a weak side, which is quite low health, and yes, you can increase his health, but that crit chance is so sweet for his damage that it's a really tough choice. But maybe if you really struggle with him, yeah, just overall the fact that I have gotten him to level 30 proves that it's just a good bot and definitely viable. You can go all in on him and he will always be there for you. He won't be like the exceptional bot. It's rare for Longshot to carry the fight, like for example Bullseye can, but Longshot is just so steady, so reliable, you know? So I started with him because it's just a simple reason why. It's definitely a decent choice. If you've got Longshot, you can upgrade him and you won't probably regret. The only weaknesses he has, maybe you should consider not upgrading him if you really struggle with like bosses. I feel like Longshot has the damage out of snipers on the lower side. If you really care about beating like boss enemies and stuff, mega bots, Longshot will be okay, but there are better bots. Like I think that both Pupil and Big Shot, especially when you use something like Supercharge, Chaos Translocator and stuff in a proper time, these are just better. I mean, Translocator on Pupil doesn't work really well, so sorry for that, but I meant mainly Big Shot for boss enemies. So there's that, only one con, but overall I'm satisfied with Longshot being upgraded. Personally, I don't use him in, like, for example, Arena, and don't use him often, but he's so, for example, good for recruit battles. When recruit arena fights take place, squad caps, you know, he's perfect because usually AI isn't very good, very smart at placing these bots, and Longshot you can place him anywhere sort of, and he will do his job well. Then we have Brute. I feel like you can also get Brute. I even use him now in my arena matches because he's just providing so much damage. And Spin is so powerful. He's like Splasher Brawler, which is awesome. Of course, he has a huge con, which is he's barely even moving. But you know what? It's with abilities, it's quite easy to deal with that. So you obviously need some sort of setup for Brute, and this is his main con. He can also spawn with Spin ready, which just makes him a machine when you put him in a crowded place, you know, he will do the job. And that's why I think Brute is decent. Early in the game, you might have trouble with proper use of Brute because you might not have access to, for example, Chainer, but I think it's fine overall. It shouldn't be a big problem because you have Lobby, you will have Chainer eventually. If you don't, and if you have, there's no problem really. So yeah, it's not that big of a trouble to get enemies together in the current game. There's a lot of tools for that, maybe not on this level of play yet, but this is video about whenever you wonder if you should upgrade these bots further. Are they good later in the game, or am I wasting resources? No, I think that Brute definitely okay, alright, but you can definitely use resources on him and you won't probably regret. Another con he has though, besides requiring setup, he is pretty bad if you give him to your squad cap recruits because they can't really use Brutes overall. Overall, the recruits aren't very smart with bots that require some setup. Flamer, do I really have to say much? Flamer is just an iconic bot for me. He's the hero of one of my first videos, which got a lot of views because I showcased the combo with Flamer and Chainer, which is quite good to this day. Of course, it a bit fell off because it doesn't have as much damage, but on the beginning of the game, it's still all accurate, and you can definitely follow these advices from so long time ago, you know? So Flamer is just so good because of the ultimate he has, of the flame field. Flamer also has this AI which makes him start with almost full flame field, so like not almost full, half full, but you know, it should be quick to use, and you don't have to rely on these ultimate boosters. Flamer does have cons. I don't think he's a good evader outside of combos. Like if you just put sort of Flamer in random place, random spot in the battle, he seems to struggle, and that's what I noticed, simply like that. He's not exceptional in these situations. So if you plan to use Flamer in various combos, he's definitely okay. But if you don't plan on using combos in your game that much, like with Chainer and stuff, which few people really consider playing like that, yeah, the Flamer might not be the best option, right? Because he requires this setup similarly to Brute, I would sort of say. He's very similar to Brute, but a bit better because, yeah, he's still evader, he's still fast, so if you put him in some random place, he will be okay. Then we have Dunback, another bot which I consider viable. And I feel like Dunback is the definition of an evader. He's so difficult to catch. The highest speed in the game, I think, 30. He's just insane. Like, there is no way that a brawler or tank which doesn't have a gap closing ability will ever catch him, which is just insane. His damage isn't that low. You can see here DPS is 1000 on level 24. He will struggle against snipers and will probably be instantly dead against snipers as long as he doesn't roll. He has a bit weird AI where I don't personally want to choose anything there because I think that Omni roll is fine as it is and doesn't need to have these, you know, alterations when it comes to his ability, you know. Also immune to damage while rolling, AI where there is some ranged bots. It allows you to buy time to deal with these ranged bots with maybe other bots, and then Dunback deals with melee bots. I don't think I have to say much. Everyone knows that Dunback is crazy good. I see people using Dunback sometimes even on level 13 arena. he's just, you know, so annoying when you have chasers, because chasers aren't able to chase Dunback. Like very few of them can get to him even. So yeah, he's just so overall strong, and I wish I had him on higher level actually to prove it, but yeah, I think definitely if you want to go for Dunback, you can. Good bot. Then we have Scatter. Scatter I have, as you can see, on a quite a high level, and why is that? I could actually make him level 30. Brawler is just insane damage when it comes to close range. Like, he has probably the biggest damage close range out of any bot, if you also put like AI for that. I can't think of a higher damage bot, maybe KO with fully stacked stuff, or I'm not sure. Without buffs, I think he's the strongest, and the reason for that is that he shoots these pellets, you know, sort of trash, I would say, and each of them can damage an enemy. So if the enemy stands close, then the enemy takes like full charge of these scatter shots. So full 8 pellets can be you know, received by the enemy, which is insane. His stun shot is also quite good because it can, in proper, you know, positioning, stun like entire enemy team. It has no like cap, so if you facing like wild bots, he can stun like entire like 8 wild bots, or like 6 wild bots, you know. So this is also crazy. This is why Scatter is considered good by me. He's just insane if you just put him like next to some tank or some brawler, or some chaser. Like, he usually deals with chasers like in seconds. It's that strong. And the only thing he has quite low, as you can see, he is level 27 here, but he has only 13k HP, and this is his biggest con. Of course, there is probably HP increase. Yes, there is. So if you want him to be a duelist and stuff, you don't have to use this cooldown reduction here, and you can go for that HP, which really gets him to another level of duelist. Like, he probably wins any 1v1 in the game if we talk like face-to-face, melee range, close range. He probably wins all the fights in the game. Maybe Brute would have a shot at him, but Brute is squishy too, so they would have a even footing. I'm not sure how it would go, but maybe Brute would win, I'm not sure. So yeah, Scatter definitely viable, no doubts about it from me. I used him for so much, really. You could see in my old videos him in action quite often. And when it comes to Slicer, he's the like last viable, sort of viable. I think all special bots are viable, but Slicer is the like least viable. And why is that? I think that overall, I think that chasers are sort of in the game have problems. Few chasers are good in general in the game because they are squishy, and that's the main reason, really. Because if something dies in a few hits, there's really few things that you can do and play around that. That's why I think that Slash also is barely holding on as viable bot. Slicer and Slash very similar. I think that Slicer is a bit better, and I will tell you why. Slicer has this sleep. It's very good. This sleep is undervalued often, but it has quite decent range, and it's very good when you have some annoying bot like Inkjet or stuff. He just sleeps to him and, for example, uses Flurry to stun him. Quite decent, and I feel like even though Slicer overall has less damage than Slash, the utility that brings makes him better than Slash. So if you wondered if you should upgrade Slash or Slicer, I think that Slicer is better option. He also looks quite cool, you can't deny. Look, the gold one, for example, nice. But yeah, he's definitely okay, but should you upgrade him a lot? I mean, if you want to go for chasers, then probably yes, but if you aren't like requiring chasers in your roster, I would just stick with Ram until you get Phantom or Fork. These are chasers, we are at the top chasers, they are viable, they always get their job done almost always. And the remaining chasers, they are a bit weaker, but it makes significant difference. That a bit makes significant difference. So yes, with Slicer, if you really like him, you won't regret upgrading him because he will find use later in the game. If I had level 30 Slicer, I would be happy to use him either for squad caps or maybe sometimes for fun in arena or in danger zones too. He will provide damage and he will provide some utility at chasing these annoying bots like Inkjet or something like that. He can also pin down, few bots can do that. He could pin down that Dunback with Leap and ultimate. He would probably destroy the Dunback quite fast. So he's there. He's also quite fast, so you can't forget about that. But 15 speed isn't the top, right? But he's not so bad. And if you want that, you could make him immune to slow, but he would have to give up the health, which is so important for him. Imagine, like, he is level 22, and without that, he would be like 6k HP, which is just insane. That's so little. So you have to keep in mind that he's quite squishy. So to sum up, Slicer is decent. You won't regret upgrading him to like level 30, but you have to keep in mind that overall, Phantom, Fork, and what else? Drill also, a new chaser, which is just so strong. Yeah, there are so many good, better chasers, you know. You need to think twice about upgrading him a lot, you know. If you really like him, you won't regret, but if you want to save your resources for other chasers, then you are fine. You can also, you know, just leave him. And these were the most viable bots out of these special ones, and now I come to the bots that are a bit worse, but I feel like they are still okay. If you would upgrade them to level 30, I feel like they would do a decent job, as I said, especially Squad Cap. I think that all of these free bots are quite decent there, and I think they would find use in other scenarios as well. So let's get to them. Bombi. I think that Bombi suffers from the fact that alt cooldowns are so strong and so commonly used that he's a bit suffering from that. Why? Because you don't really want alt cooldowns on Bombi because he will destroy himself quite fast, and this is something you actually don't want to do, I feel like, because if he has like almost full health and he uses his ultimate, that's not very good, and the ultimate doesn't do enough damage to make up for the fact that you've lost a bot by his ultimate. So there's that. But Bombi is such a great pick, especially for your recruits because of Grand Entrance. It's so much damage, it's insane, and it also stuns, so it can really, you know, change the course of the battle, especially if you don't, for example, use Bombi at the very start and you wait for that. And sometimes you can have some annoying bots that are on low HP, for example in arena match, and you have no tools to deal with them. Then having Bombi in your team is so good because you just drop the Bombi on this guy and he's dead, you know. A better version of Bombi is Meteor, I feel like, but Meteor is a legendary bot which few people have really, you know, access to. So yeah, Bombi is like, you know, your cheap Meteor, I feel like. So notice that he also has a lot of health. So if you like Bombi, you can upgrade him. I feel like he is viable, but only if you don't use alt cooldowns. I feel like alt cooldowns overall a bit not proper for Bombi because he often uses his ultimate when he has so much HP, or he uses his ultimate when there is like one bot next to him. You don't want that too. So you cannot use ultimate cooldowns with him, and that's his main really flaw. He's quite fast, as you can see. He doesn't do damage, but you know what? He has amazing passive and he tanks damage, so it's fine. We can live with that. So yeah, if you upgrade Bombi high, he will be fine, I feel like, even as just for his passive. But he's a bit weaker than the other options, maybe non-viable even in that meta gaming, for example, because most people Until people have legendary boosters, I feel like you either play corrupted power generation, maybe now even less that, or you play alt cooldowns, right? So maybe if you play a corrupted power generation, then Bombi is great. Yeah, definitely a decent pick. So I wouldn't say he's completely not viable, but I just put him as non-viable to sort of have general info, but if you dive deeper, he can be useful. Then we have Berserker. Look at Berserker, he has a lot of health for level 20, he's definitely there when it comes to tanking stuff, he also provides you some utility. What's my problem with Berserker? He doesn't really achieve anything special. He has the problem of Bari, that he could tank damage and he could, you know, provide you with stuns, unlike Bari, so better, right? But tanks in general that bring few utility are not that good in the game right now, I feel like. But that doesn't mean that Berserker is bad. I feel like simply Noozle and Chiner and like Link are just so much stronger than Berserker that he's just feels useless compared to them, right? Because Chainer will pull enemies and tank at the same time. So good. He also has area damage. Noozle can stun on entrance, sort of like Bombi. He's so much tankier, I feel like. Thanks to his abilities, he's so much tankier. And you have also area of effect stun. Just so good, you know? I feel like he's better than Berserker in every way. Bulwark also provides you area stun and better tanking, I guess. Link so good with like any combos, he's just so strong, better body in every way. Berserker I feel has this idea of being a tank which is also a chaser sort of, because he has this gap closing ability charge, you know? And I agree, when you use him against some sniper or something like that, he really is useful. And he doesn't deal that little damage. 400 for a tank at level 20 is not bad. Bombi has much less on level 22, for example. But yeah, as long as you don't really need that chasing potential in your tank, a lot of tanks are simply better than Berserker. That's why I think he's not very viable. And that's why I think you should save your materials for upgrading tanks for stuff like Chainer, for example. So yeah, that's about him. And finally, we've got Tether. I feel like Tether is definitely there when it comes to viability. I feel like he has everything you want. Look, he's level 20, he has almost 9k HP. For a support, it's fine, especially for a support like him. He immobilizes enemies, you know? The thing about him is that he has a decent DPS. Look at him. 500 DPS at level 20. I would say that some other bots have similar DPS. Look, Frostian level 24 has 500 DPS as well. So actually, I would say that Tether is definitely okay. If you upgrade him, you won't regret it. The immobilized duration on all bots is like 4 seconds. In the scenario where you have so many bots like fighting wild bots, he's just so strong and he increases the damage taken of the bots he immobilizes. So I feel like he is just good, he is just viable. Only thing about him, never take this, never take that leech ultimate, because it barely leeches anything. Just go for this one, because it's better. I feel like Tether is definitely viable. What is the problem with him? The problem with Tether is that we have Beat, which is so much stronger. Beat is just one of the strongest supports in the game right now. And usually when you have your team composition, you don't use more than one support, because I mean, why would you use more than one support? It's not really the best idea. So if most people use either, for example, Beat or Halo or maybe Bouncer, also very strong bot, you don't usually want to have so many supports. But you know what? I feel like you still can upgrade him, because the reason for that is that usually you have a lot of materials for support bots, because there isn't that many support bots, you know. So even if you upgrade your Tether, you will usually have also the materials for beat. This is also the case, especially if you don't want to use Gasto. Gasto is also one of the better supports right now because he has been buffed so much. But some people might simply not like him. For some reason, Shuffle is considered support too, but he's late game and he really depends on high level to do good stuff, so he's also not that crazy. That's why I feel like if you like Tether, he has everything to offer you. The only con I would say is ranged bots, because he immobilizes enemies. Ranged bots will still deal a lot of damage to your team, even when Tether immobilizes them. But he's excelling at keeping in place, like tanks, brawlers, chasers, everything like that. Just so strong against them. So actually, I would say that the least viable bot is Berserker out of special bots, I would say, to sum up. Then Bombi in certain scenarios is fine. And Tether, I feel like he's overall fine, but he has this, thing that usually you use in your composition, just beat and forget about other supports, But overall, I feel like he's definitely there. And now let's go to the recommended team composition for like levels 14, 17, this intermediate level of playing Botworld. So this would be my sort of desired team composition for the intermediate level of playing Botworld. We have Chainer here. You should probably have him around these levels, and if not, you can go with Ram or Thump, should be fine as well, or Brute even. You should around this time have also Plagi, or maybe Mort, or it can be also Froggy. Something in general that is splashing and ranged. I would go personally for Plagi because he's simply, to me, the strongest out of these three. Then we have Longshot, which is the sort of reliable damage here. Flamer, if you have ability to make the combo with Chainer and Flamer, that's why I got him here. Scatter does the job of dealing with chasers and brawlers. He will dispatch of them quickly. And then we have Dunback, and this slot is sort of up to your preference, really. Because in this really composition, I feel like there is a bit too much of the ranged bots. So if you have lots of chasers or tanks that stun, you might a bit suffer, but at the same time, these two evaders should do fine regardless of what happens, really. But if you feel like you've got too much of these ranged bots, you could go for Tether, which is also ranged, but he will sort of, nicely support all of your team, increase the damage received by all bots. I feel like he might be a worthy contribution. You can also use Brute if you want to go for like a Chainer, Flamer, Brute combo. Chainer pulls enemies and Brute and Flamer just do their thing. You could also go for Ram, but here Ram should be used probably later in the fight. Because if you use him at the beginning, he will disrupt the combo of like Chainer, Flamer and Plagi, for example. So Ram should be used later, but overall very strong. And you can also use here, it's like a wild card really. You could use Froggy here, you could use Thump, should be fine. Any other bot that you've received and you like should be okay here. Maybe we will get Tether actually. Yeah, so this is it, guys. I think this is the proper combo to get through like intermediate level of playing Botworld Adventure. When you have a lot of special and some rare bots, this should do fine, and let's maybe try it out. I think about Plagi, I don't have AI for him. I really played little of Plagi, so there's that. So here's the guy. I think he has overall a smaller level of bots, but I have some bots that are level 20, so it should be evening out. So let's see how this would fare. I would probably use... Oh, I didn't want to use my Longshot here, so... But still, it worked out fine, and look at that. Obviously, I know that my Longshot will deal with the enemies quite well, because he's level 30, right? So... But see, as I said, Scatter, very strong, dealt with these enemies easily. Maybe let's help also my guys with by getting that Tether. And look, that Tether definitely proves his ability. Like, for example, he stopped Scatter from getting to us. So there's that. Yeah, level 30 bots are so strong that it's really hard to test, as I said. And if I get a fight against level 28 opponents or something like that, then my level 20 bots will be too weak, so it's quite hard to test. But I think it should work fine. As you could see, it sort of works, so I think that's good advice for you guys. Thanks for watching and see you.